You are lying flat on your back. Your legs are suspended in stirrups. You are staring up at blinding fluorescent lights, listening to the cold, rhythmic beep of a heart monitor, and trying to push through the most intense physical pain of your life. This is the standard. This is what every movie, every hospital drama, and every modern prenatal class has hardwired into your brain. You have been trained to believe that this is the one, normal, scientifically correct way for a human being to bring life into the world. Now, I want you to take that exact picture and show it to someone from 400 years ago. They would look at you like you had completely lost your mind. Because for the vast, overwhelming majority of human history, lying flat on your back to give birth wasn't just uncommon. It was considered the most dangerous, foolish, and counterproductive thing a woman could possibly do. But the real question starts here. It isn't just about how they used to do it. It's a much bigger, much darker mystery. Why is giving birth for a human being the bloodiest, most agonizing, and most dangerous experience in the entire animal kingdom? And why, knowing that, did we decide to make it infinitely harder by doing it flat on our backs? That is our story today. Not a myth, not an old wives' tale. This is a biological reality that will completely shatter how you view the first moment you entered this world. Let's start with the biggest lie of the modern maternity ward. People just shrug and say, well, human babies have giant heads. Lying on your back is just the safest, most medically sound way for the doctors to get them out. Wrong. There is not a single land mammal on planet Earth that actively chooses to lie flat on its spine to deliver its young. If that flat, horizontal position was truly the pinnacle of natural biology, why did thousands of generations of human women actively avoid it like the plague? The truth? From ancient times right up until the 18th century, women did not lie down. They stood up. They knelt on the dirt. They pulled themselves up on heavy ropes hanging from ceiling beams. They squatted over specially designed wooden birthing stools with holes cut out of the center. They contorted their bodies into primal shapes that would make a modern obstetrician break out in a cold sweat. But they weren't ignorant. They were surviving. And they did it for three very specific life or death reasons. Reason number one, basic physics. You are trying to push a heavy, bowling ball-sized object out of your body through a very tight, unyielding tunnel. Gravity pulls things down. So why on earth would you lie flat and force yourself to push horizontally, or worse, slightly uphill? Women in the past used the planet's gravity as their greatest ally. When you stand or drop into a squat, the downward pull of the earth actually helps move the baby down the birth canal. Forcing a woman to lie on her back to give birth is exactly like trying to squeeze out the last bit of toothpaste by smashing the tube flat against a table. You burn twice the energy, you fight the physics, and it barely works. Reason number two, the hidden magic of the human pelvis. Did you know that when a woman drops into a deep, unsupported squat, her pelvis literally changes shape? It physically expands. The pelvic outlet opens up by 20 to 30% compared to when she is lying flat on a hospital bed. 30%. That precious extra space is the literal line between life and death. When you lie flat on your back, your entire body weight crushes your tailbone into the mattress. It locks the bone firmly in place. It turns a wide, flexible exit route into a rigid, narrow bottleneck. Our ancestors didn't have X-ray machines or anatomical textbooks, but their bodies knew exactly which position opened the door the widest. Reason number three, the bizarre abuse of power. If squatting or kneeling is so superior, why do we all lie down today? This is where the story gets genuinely unhinged. The shift to lying down didn't come from a brilliant medical breakthrough. It came from the bizarre, voyeuristic fetish of a French king in the 17th century. King Louis XIV had a very specific, very weird hobby. He liked to personally watch his wives and mistresses give birth. He was obsessed with it. But there was a logistical problem. If the women were squatting or using a traditional birthing stool, the king's view was blocked by the midwives. So, what does a man with absolute power do? He ordered the women to lie flat on their backs, legs spread wide on a bed. Why? So he could sit comfortably on a cushioned chair, sip his wine, and have an unobstructed view of the entire process. A king's creepy preference started a royal trend. The aristocrats copied the king to seem wealthy. The commoners copied the aristocrats to seem sophisticated. And just like that, 1,000 years of evolutionary instinct was wiped out because one guy wanted a better view. Now, you might be thinking, okay, if it was just a royal fad, why did modern science keep it? Fast forward to the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Scientists and the World Health Organization finally decided to look closely at the actual data. They ran massive clinical trials comparing flat-on-the-back deliveries with upright positions, and the results delivered a massive slap in the face to modern obstetrics. The studies proved it without a shadow of a doubt. When women are allowed to move and give birth upright, labor is significantly shorter. The need for epidurals, vacuums, and medical interventions drops massively. The baby's heart rate is far more stable. And crucially, the tearing and physical trauma to the mother are drastically reduced. So why do hospitals still make you lie down? It is entirely, 100%, for the doctor's convenience. A woman pinned to a flat bed, heavily medicated, with a bright spotlight shining on her, is a stationary target. It makes it incredibly easy for the medical staff to monitor the machines, measure the dilation, and intervene without bending over. We have literally forced the mother's biology to work backwards, just to optimize the ergonomics for the person catching the baby. But hold on, we have to go deeper, past the hospitals, past the World Health Organization, past King Louis, all the way back to the primal dawn of humanity. Because here is the brutal truth: even if you squat perfectly, even if you use gravity perfectly, giving birth as a human is still a nightmare. Why? Welcome to the obstetrical dilemma. Millions of years ago, our ape-like ancestors made a choice that changed the trajectory of the planet. We stood up. We became bipedal. We walked on two legs. But to walk upright without constantly falling over, our pelvis had to completely redesign itself. It became narrower, tighter, and twisted into a rigid bowl shape. But right around the exact same time, evolution decided we needed to be the smartest animals on the planet. Our brains exploded in size. We grew giant, complex brains inside massive skulls. Do you see the terrifying math here? Giant heads, narrow pelvis. Mother Nature forced our species to sign a brutal evolutionary contract. In exchange for walking upright and having the intelligence to build cities and split the atom, human females were cursed with the most agonizing birth process on Earth. We are essentially trying to push a watermelon through a tunnel designed for a lemon. To make it fit, a human baby actually has to perform a complex, corkscrew twisting motion while inside the birth canal just to survive the exit. Look at the rest of the animal kingdom. A female giraffe drops her 150-pound baby onto the dirt, and the baby stands up and starts running 10 minutes later. A chimpanzee can slip away into the bushes, give birth in total silence, and be back with her troop by the afternoon. But a primitive human woman? She bled, she screamed, she was in absolute agony for hours, sometimes days. Childbirth wasn't a natural bodily function, it was a brutal, life-threatening crisis. And that exact evolutionary flaw is the secret to human civilization. Because human birth was so uniquely dangerous, we couldn't do it alone. We became the only primates on Earth that absolutely required a midwife. Primitive women had to huddle together. They had to protect the screaming mother from nocturnal predators. They had to physically pull the baby out and clear its airway. Human empathy, tribal connection, and deep social bonding didn't start around a warm campfire while roasting meat. They were forged in blood, terror, and screaming in the dead of the night, simply because our bodies were built wrong. So, here we are. The human birth process is already a risky, painful design flaw of nature. But instead of working with gravity, instinct, and biology like thousands of generations before us, we created a modern world where the mother is strapped to a flat surface. That expensive, sterile, highly monitored hospital bed you picture isn't the pinnacle of natural healing. It is a bizarre evolutionary experiment. It is a modern factory line where the smooth operation of a hospital system was placed high above the mechanical reality of a woman's bones. The next time you see a movie where a woman is lying flat on her back, sweating, screaming, and pushing until her face turns purple, remember this: she isn't just fighting the pain of childbirth. She is single-handedly fighting 2 million years of human evolution, the literal shape of her own skeleton, and the gravitational pull of the Earth, all at the exact same time. But what if I told you the French king's weird fetish wasn't the only reason doctors forced women onto their backs? There is a much darker reason the medical establishment wanted women immobilized. A reason involving male surgeons, the deliberate wiping out of female midwives, and a pair of cold steel, salad tong-like instruments that they kept hidden in wooden boxes so the mothers wouldn't panic.